You froze for a second.
Yeah, because right now you just spoke really fast, kind of like a skunk, and you're like one of those chipmunks.
Oh, yeah, you said like a skunk.
Oh, my bad.
And I was like, skunks don't talk.
But chipmunks do.
Chipmunks do. I think skunks talk like Pepe Le Pew. Like, I think they're all French. Aren't they all French?
Welcome to Scary Mystery Surprise,
where we talk about scary things that surprised us around the internet.
I'm Edwin.
I'm Michelle. Today, listeners, we're doing Edwin and I's childhood fears.
Yeah, you know those things that you were afraid of when you were a kid? Now they're traumas. Is that what you call them now?
Yes, that is, I think, what we call them now. Triggers? Traumas?
Triggers. Our inner child.
Who is always crying out for help and recognition.
You know, they say that now, like, we have a lot of these habits. We throw a tantrum, even though we don't know that it's a tantrum. We don't want to call it that. We're just like, oh, yeah, my inner child came out on that. It's just, no, Karen, that was something else.
That was your entitlement. It could be argued that entitlement is your inner child freaking out.
It's true.
My therapist is like, certain people need to cultivate inner adults. You know what I mean? So, like, a Karen would need to cultivate an inner adult as opposed to her inner child probably does need to be cared for. But, yeah, you got to cultivate your inner adult so you can be like, maybe I don't have a tantrum right now. Maybe the server wasn't really trying to hurt me. Maybe they're just having a bad day and they ran out of ketchup.
Very true, which is, it happens. They do have a bad day when they run out of ketchup.
Yeah. I was at a restaurant in New York and all the spoons were missing.
What? What?
I don't know why. The waiter was like, we don't have any normal sized spoons. And he brought a teaspoon out for my friend's parfait. We were like, are we being punked right now? And he's like, I got to work today. All the spoons were missing.
What? Like a spoon thief of New York?
That's what I said. I was like, were they stolen? And he's like, I think it was probably an inside job. And he had an Australian accent, so let's see if I can do it. It was probably an inside job, mate.
This is so good.
All right, back to our childhood trauma.
I did come up with a few things that I was afraid of. And ever since we came up with that idea of childhood fears and other stuff that we used to be afraid of or never got over, I've been thinking a lot about it. I think I had some time to really think about it because I was like, okay, I have these bullet points. What was I afraid of? Anyway, of all of these, I'm not just going to stick around with scary ones, but I made a couple of rules for myself for it.
Okay.
One of them is to be completely honest.
Okay.
No matter how embarrassing they can be.
Okay. I did that as well.
Hopefully they're not that embarrassing. But I did have one really embarrassing one that I'm traumatized over.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'll share it. I don't know if I'll share it. I don't know.
Just share it.
We'll see. Depending on the room, you know how it feels. I might just do it. But anyway, here's one. When I was 7 years old, I took a trip to Mexico with my parents to visit family. And that's when I started discovering cable TV because I didn't have cable at home. So Nickelodeon with all those shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Hey Arnold. It was great. But programming wouldn't be the same at my grandpa's house. You'd normally stay at my grandpa's house. And they had the state-run, the regular signals. Anyway, there was this one thing that really creeped me out. I don't know exactly what it was. And I try to find it. So if anybody else can find it and is good at this Google searching stuff, help me out. But I can't find it. It was this type of commercial or announcement from the channel. And it was like this mime type of thing, but it wasn't a face. Imagine this, right? It's a sound of like a type of sound. Like a something like that. The thing is, there are two gloves on the screen, like two gloves, like with the 5 fingers, they're gloves, not like boxing gloves, but like regular gloves. Behind them, there's just darkness, nothing. There's no arms, no hands, nothing, just gloves, empty gloves making hand gestures. And they're just like shaking hands, bumping fists. walking, slapping each other like with the index finger. And it wouldn't say anything, just silence in that. And I remember telling my cousins, like, what is that? Like, what? And they were like, oh, los guantes, like the gloves. And everybody was afraid of them. But nobody knew what they had a message. Like, I'm sure there was some announcement or something on it. But I used to hate it. And my parents would be like, oh, if you do this, the gloves are going to come get you. And I would be so freaked out. Yeah, it would be like, I would imagine them walking along the bed. It was like the creepiest thing you could imagine.
It's creeping me out.
Yeah, and it would come out at night. I would run. That thing would pop up, and I would run out of the room. Like, it was that bad to me. And it was kind of like a joke sometimes. It's just you run, but you run because it's scary, and you run with everybody. But I was actually scared of it. I was like, oh my. And I remember thinking, I'm going to have a nightmare. And I did. I would have nightmares of all those things. If you share one of yours with me, like, I'll tell you how that relates to my next one.
Ooh, okay. One of my top fears as a child was Michael Jackson.
I spit on my screen.
Edwin just spit up, everybody. The funny thing is, this isn't even like Michael Jackson, how he became, but this is like Michael Jackson in Thriller scared the fucking shit out of me. I was just like, I couldn't handle him becoming a zombie behind his girlfriend in that video. My parents live like 5 minutes away. If you drive, it's 5 minutes away from a graveyard, and I was certain that I would see these zombies dancing over the hills towards our house at night, because I'd be staring at the fucking woods in our backyard, which I'm also scared of, but I'll talk about in a second. But I just was sure I'd see them doing their weird, like, shuffle
dance.
I was so scared of that for a year, I had to sleep on my parents' floor. But also, I feel vindicated in my fear of Michael Jackson, just in the way everything turned out.
He wore a glove. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, he wore a glove, too. Oh, my God, it's all connected. It's all connected. I'm very validated in this fear now, and, I survived. No zombies danced over the hill at my parents' house.
Oh, no. Speaking of Michael Jackson, I used to be afraid of being abducted or taken to somewhere.
Good segue, Edwin. Good segue.
I don't know. I would see this. I know this sounds bad, but like I used to see this homeless man. Back then, obviously, I was just afraid I was a scared little kid. There would be this homeless man that would go into our apartment complex, and he would just hang out by the trash cans, lean against the wall, open up his finds of the day, and just chill there. And all of the kids would run when we would see him, and we would just run, like book it, leave our bikes and everything. We'd just leave. And it was one of those things that just really creeped me out, because growing up in apartments for me had this really interesting storytelling culture type of thing, where the older kids would tell you of the people who used to live in your apartment before, or like the story of the people who have lived there the longest, and they have all these, this kid disappeared in this thing, and they say he's buried behind your house or behind your unit. Some of the kids knew somebody who had been taken by this homeless man, supposedly, and they would say, I remember one time this kid didn't finish his story. What was his name? His name was Jorge. I remember that was his name. We would call him Jorge. I don't know if that Jorgito we used to call him. And he was older, and he was like, by the way, where did you think that this one guy went? Because it was like the legend of this kid. I forgot the name. Basically, this kid who disappeared. They're like, homeless people get hungry, right? Just the whole new fear unlocked. Like, people can get eaten. Obviously, we didn't have Google to find stuff like, do people eat people? And then they would say, and then the older kids would be like, yeah, people do eat people. Look them up. They're called cannibals. We learned about them at school. And it would just be like, oh no, it's new fears unlocked completely. Yeah, pretty intense childhood. And now I discover more of why I'm like this.
Is this what this episode is called, his origin story? We dive into our childhood fears. Wait, so whatever became of the homeless man?
I mean, eventually we moved out and we would just see him go from apartment. Like we moved to another complex within that same street. And we would just see him going from place to place. But we just kind of lost track of him. Just like our ice cream truck lady. Those are the characters I remember the most. The ice cream cart lady, the elote man, and the homeless guy from the trash cans.
Forever named the homeless guy from the trash cans.
It's funny because in my mind, they never had names. Like they were just, them.
Of course.
And, yeah. Really cool.
I'm getting a visual of in Home Alone when they all make up those stories about the guy with the shovel and how he's like a serial killer. And then he saves the day. That's how I imagine your homeless man.
Imagine he's the one that was guarding us.
Guarding you from the creepy things in your apartment
Michael
building.
Jackson.
He's guarding you from Michael Jackson. Hee hee. Scary. Oh, he's so scary. He's so scary. Should I talk about the woods or should I talk about another movie thing that I'm scared of?
Both.
Okay. So another thing that I'm scared of is the woods, namely my parents' backyard. Also, speaking of random homeless men, I love how Edwin and I's fears seem to all tie together, which is weird. My parents have a foresty backyard, and like once a year, 4 years, there would just be a man sleeping in our backyard in an orange sleeping bag. And it was like that. Those woods, you could always, I was always scared of them because I always felt like someone was watching me and everyone would be like, that's not true. It's fine. It's such a pretty backyard. It's the woods, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, this guy freaking stays back there. So, yeah, of course, somebody's out there watching you.
Literally someone watching you.
There is literally someone watching you. And it was funny that he came back so many times. It was like it was a stop on his railway journey to wherever the fuck he was going. Because he would camp out there all the time. Because my parents' backyard butts up against a church. And it's like a nice church. There's no graveyard there. But it was just like... Yeah, of course, it's nice and peaceful. It's deserted. Nobody's out there. Sometimes people throw little parties in the churchyard. And then on the other side of that, my parents' yard butts up against a school. So there's just a big school play yard. So it's like field, woods.
Oh, no. What did your parents say?
The traditional, well, I don't know. We'll check it out. And then my dad would go back there and have to wake up that guy and get him to move on. I felt like I was dismissed a little too often to also have been proven right. That guy was back there. He wasn't always back there, but there was a homeless man sleeping back there.
Michelle, imagine that scene, though. Imagine it. So you are in your room. It's late. You're going to bed. You just hear a sound, somebody walking up to your window, and then you see him peeking over your... Oh, no!
I was on the second floor. It's still just when you would look back into that, it was just dark woods.
Michelle, when you're inside of a house and your lights are on, you can't see outside.
I know.
But the outside can see in, right?
And that, my parents would never draw the blinds on the backyard because they were like, oh, no one's back there. No one could see in. And I'm like, you're fucking nuts. And then when I saw Thriller, all these zombies are going to come through the woods just doing their shuffle. So it's like I could see them in my mind's eye raising out of the old Edmonds graveyard and coming, coming to the house. And then I was going to have to go down the laundry escape to escape them. And that was my way out. I think I had anxiety as a child, so I clearly had to make these escape plans all the time.
You're like, okay, it takes me 4 seconds to get to the chute. Then
all my family's dead, but I'll get to the chute and then I'll sprint across the field and I'll climb on the roof of the school. Okay. And then I'll be safe. And then I can sleep and figure it out. But I'll make sure I grab the cat so I can so the cat lives. It's funny. If I told my therapist that, she'd be like, oh, that's so sad.
I mean, as a kid, you accepting basically your family's dead and you have to decide what to do and you save your cat.
Definitely save the cat, 100%. Families on their own. That's what they get for not believing me. Families on their own. I was right. The disaster's coming. See you later. Peace.
Speaking of being watched.
Uh-huh. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, how is this happening?
I don't know.
Wow.
It's about to get creepy, though. It's about to get creepy.
Oh, okay, great.
And kind of sad. But it was about this kid who couldn't see anymore. But I think the reasons are going to be intense. Just a warning here. There was one show. It was about women. It's called Mujer Casos de la Vida Real. So like women, real life cases. Basically, it would just be like, imagine like that. Well, it was actually a woman who was hosting. But so she would just be up on this studio and she would say, women, we go through a lot, blah, blah, blah. So this is a case of, and then they would reenact. It was like this full production, like a soap opera type of thing. It was sad. It was a very sad show. So you really need to get emotionally prepared. I don't know why I would watch it sometimes, but there was one in particular that I remember. It was called The Boy with the Red Balloon. It was a story of this family. What I remember is it was this family, it was this kid, this mom. They had a tough time. They were like poor. At the time, there were people that were basically abducting children and organ trafficking in Mexico. And yeah, it was really scary. Like,
yeah, that's really scary.
This is creepy, all right? So just...
Okay, tell me.
I remember this scene. There's a little boy. I think he looked like 8 or 9 years old, maybe 10, I don't know. And he's leaning against the front of his house, from what I remember. Again, fuzzy on the details here. He has a balloon tied to his wrist, or he's holding it, I don't know. And he has 2 cotton patches over his eyes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I think in his pocket or in his hand, he has a bunch of wrapped up money, like bills.
Uh-huh.
And basically the story was that they took his eyes to traffic them, and they left them there. And I guess to compensate the mother, they gave him money. And he was left like that, so they gave the money to the mom, and to him they gave him a balloon as like a prize in exchange for his eyes. Anyway, it creeped me out so much, and I think that episode was so sad and disturbing that it got banned.
It makes sense. That visual that you just described I can't even imagine seeing that as a kid.
Yeah. Plus, like those types of shows, they make it a whole thing. So like you learn about the boy, what he was like, he laughs, he plays, and then like you learn about him, and then all of a sudden...
Oh, God. And they took his eyes. Oof.
I don't think I've seen anything as disturbing since, to that level, at least. Now that I've seen a lot more. Like,
how old were you when you watched that?
I don't know. I want to say 7 or when I was just really impressionable. I remember watching gunfights, like on cowboys, westerns and stuff. And I remember thinking like, wow, people just shoot themselves and die. Wow, that's weird. And that's another thing that I used to be like, so life isn't that valuable? I remember thinking about these things. So, again, origin stories here.
Well, I get why that was so traumatic, seeing that. Because you yourself are a little boy, probably close to the same age as the little boy in the show. And it's just like you got to know him, and then you get to see the consequences of what happened to him, which is almost worse.
It was something. I know it was not funny at all, but yeah, it really scared the heck out of me.
Oh man, now I'm torn about what I should do next. Because I have one short, but it might be creepy. I can't tell how creepy it'll be. And then one is not that creepy, but it's kind of funny.
Let's hear it.
You want that one?
Yeah.
Okay, it's another movie one.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you've ever seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I have, yes.
Yes. Large Marge and semi-trucks at night, baby. I could not handle that. Dear fucking God, when Pee-wee gets into that truck If we were driving at night, I could not look into the windows of semi-trucks at night because I was scared I'd see Large Marge looking back at me. Also sent me to my parents' floor, like also where I slept on my parents' floor once again for another long amount of time. But just in case you don't know what Pee-wee's Big Adventure is and Large Marge is, let me just describe it. So number one, it's Tim Burton's first fucking movie, Jesus Christ. In the middle of the larger plot of Pee-wee's search for his missing bike, he's hitchhiking along a lonely highway. He's picked up by Large Marge, who immediately launches into a story about the worst accident I have ever seen. The tension builds, Pee-wee looks on captivated but frightened, and the story goes, on this very night 10 years ago, along this same stretch of road, in a dense fog, just like this, I saw the worst accident I'd ever seen. There was a sound like a garbage truck dropped off the Empire State Building, and when they finally pulled the driver's body from the twisted burning wreck, it looked like this! And then she contorts her face into the grotesque shape. To Pee-wee's relief, her horror story ends, but not before she delivers her most iconic line, be sure to tell him Large Marge sent ya, when she drops him off. And then, of course, he goes into the diner, and he's like, Large Marge sent me, and they're like, Large Marge has been dead for 15 years. And there's like a shrine to her. Ugh.
So creepy. So creepy. I'm so glad I got to see that as an adult and not as a little kid. Like,
that is like a perfect jump scare. Like Tim Burton nailed the jump scare. It's making my heart hurt like thinking about it right now.
Right now? Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
If I had to say, I guess like my last one that I think it's not creepy at all, is probably the most tame one, I guess, but I still feel it today, has to do with me being a kid at school. Anything like tests, homework, all that. I would turn in stuff on time, do all my stuff, get good grades, everything. But I swear, every once in a while, I still have a nightmare that I show up to class and I have a presentation due and I didn't make it, I didn't prepare for it, that I go to class and I sit down and everybody's okay, so everybody knows that we have our final exam today and everyone is ready except for me. I still have that, and I swear I wake up with just sweating. Like I get so stressed out over it, and I don't know if I'm the only one. It's just school was scary.
Well, I keep having these reoccurring dreams where I'm at school and I don't know where I'm supposed to be at school, like what class I'm supposed to be in, or like where. I know I'm supposed to be doing something, but like, I don't know.
You're
what.
Lost?
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm not lost. I'm just like, but I don't know what my schedule is, so I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. What class am I supposed to be in right now? Oh, I like this class, but I haven't been in 3 months.
What?
I don't know. It's so weird.
Okay, that is different.
It's funny that you brought up a dream thing, because my final one was a dream thing. And I was just like, I don't even know if I was going to tell this one, but when I was a little kid, I had this dream that there was a hanging man under a sheet and he was in my doorway.
What?
You know, if someone was hanging and the way their feet dangle when they hang?
Yeah. Oh, no.
And then if a sheet covered that, that's what it looked like. The feet were floating off the ground.
That's like the most sinister thing you've said in this podcast.
It was terrifying. And he was under the sheet, but his feet were dangling, but he was hanging from his neck. But I knew if I lifted that sheet, his face would be all contorted from hanging from the neck. And so I was terrified of lifting the sheet. And he was standing in my frickin' doorway, just floating there in my bedroom.
Michelle, hold on. What the heck? I'm imagining the creak of the rope, like...
Yeah, like I knew he was hanging. And in the dream, it was like he almost wanted me to pull the sheet off of him. But I just wasn't going... And in the dream, I had to go around him to get to my parents' room so I'd be safe.
Sleep on the floor.
Yeah, of course, I had to go sleep on the floor in my parents' room. They had like an inflatable air mattress for me at that point and a little sleeping bag.
It's like, it's an everyday thing.
It's just an everyday thing. She's just a little sensitive.
And anxious.
Yeah, she's a little anxious, so let's just give her a little nest and it's fine. And I still remember that dream like as vividly as when it happened.
No, that's too dark. I don't know. How old were you when you thought of that?
8.
Yeah. How? What is that?
I don't know, man.
I don't know what I would have done. In a dream? Well, obviously you don't know you're in a dream, huh?
Yeah, I didn't really know. And of course, I woke up and I immediately beelined for my parents' bedroom in my cocoon on the floor. But I did that in the dream too, so it's just funny that I did both things.
You go into your nest, then you wake up and you're like, oh, darn it. I didn't go to my nest.
I didn't go to my nest. I got to go to my nest.
Oh, man. Yeah, that is creepy. I think the lesson here, I think parents should watch out for what their kids are watching because, I mean, I don't want to be that guy to tell you what to do. Just think about it. If you're listening, right? What traumatized you as a kid like that? And really think about it. Like, really think about it. And send them in to us. Let me know. What scared you? Let us know. Michelle's interested. Yeah,
we are definitely interested because I know Large Marge is a pretty regular one. Like, I think a lot of people are scared of Large Marge. I think Tim Burton got a lot of people with Large Marge.
Intense. That was intense, reliving all these things.
I guess what we've learned is tell someone one of your childhood fears, and you'll feel some relief and some horror all at once.
Just a public service announcement.
Yeah, just a public service announcement from Scary Mystery Surprise. Don't hold on to that trauma. Don't hold on to that little kid trauma. Talk about it. Laugh about it. Tell us your zombie plans. Did you make zombie plans?
Were you afraid of Michael Jackson?
Were you afraid? If you were, I validate your fear because I think we were only proven right in the long term.
You should have been afraid of Michael Jackson.
You should have been. Yeah. And here we are.
Oh, man. Anyway, so I think on our previous episode, we mentioned about the haunted objects thing, right? So here's the idea. We're going to get, I looked through a bunch of categories on the haunted items, right? So on eBay. This is straight from eBay. Because Michelle told me, I'm so thankful for this. She told me that they sell haunted items on eBay. And I didn't know. And then
all I do is educate. That's what I'm here to do, is educate. So,
and I appreciate that. But on my first search on eBay, I found this doll. This supposedly haunted doll. It's actually an action figure. And it had this description. It said, "This is Wes. Wes is a spirit that is looking for the company of a woman, not woman, women.
Okay.
Wes has always enjoyed the company of a lady. He loves a woman's body. He loves to touch and grab every part of the woman's body." Michelle, did you find this or did I find it? I forgot.
I think we were looking together. I think we both found it at the same time. We were like doing our planning meeting or something and we got off track.
This says, Wes has communicated that he passed away when he was 40. He was in an accident, but has never gone into detail of what kind. He never married, as he liked to be a player. Wes enjoys being intimate with you.
Oh, God.
He wants to touch you from head to toe. He blows into your ear. Into your ear. I guess it meant he blows into your ear and what makes you tingle all over. Wes communicates with you with dreams, Ouija board, touch, whispers, sounds, and footsteps. He will knock for yes and no answers. Wes will come to you in the night when you are in bed. He will climb in with you.
Oh, God, why does that give me chills? Ugh.
And then Michelle looked at it and was like,
"Isn't that Aragorn?" from Lord of the Rings. And was an Aragorn action figure from Lord of the Rings. So that's the type of stuff we're talking about here with our haunted objects. Unfortunately, that object sold, so we won't be able to buy that one. But Edwin has picked some categories.
Let's post a picture of it on Instagram.
Yeah, we should post it. Gone but not forgotten.
So then the idea here, after looking through all these objects, I categorize this kind of broadly, but I've narrowed it down to maybe a doll, an object like a music box, old clothing or jewelry, or a photograph of some kind. So the deal here is that you will vote by letting us know via email or through Instagram about what you think I should buy.
And then I'll pick from that category that you guys vote from.
Correct. And I will get it. You know, it didn't hit me until somebody asked, what if they are haunted? What if it really is haunted?
More Lord of the Rings haunted stuff. That's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, man.
You didn't include Lord of the Rings as one of your subcategories. Jewelry or Lord of the Rings merchandise.
I guess that could be part of the dolls section, I guess. So, yeah, because I also found clocks. So it could be like, when I mean by like items, it could be like, okay, so again, that's a doll, a haunted item. That'll be like a music box, a clock, something. Clothing, jewelry, or a photograph. From there, if it's one of those action figures, under the doll category. And then Michelle will...
Yeah, if you want it to be an action figure like Wes, that would be a doll. That would be considered a doll. And yes, I will post a reminder on our Instagram with our categories so you can pick.
Oh, no. And remember, we're working on the episodes. It's going to take a little bit, right? So I'm going to be documenting as I go, and then we'll come up with the final one in a few. It'll be a surprise. It'll be a surprise when it comes out. So be a part of it.
We need you, listeners. We need you to help. We need you to help.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm nervous. I am nervous because it's like, what if it really is haunted?
I guess we'll see. And I guess, what are we going to talk about next week?
I don't know. It'll be a surprise because I just don't know. I really don't, actually.
We always somehow figure it out. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening. Bye.